Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 Through the Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017, from the Office of Alumni Engagement. And this week I am joined by Liz Byrnes and Luke Keith, seniors at Siena College and student leaders not just on the Senior Gift Committee, but across the community. Today we'll talk about their Siena experience, what's next after commencement, and this year's Senior Gift, the McCluskey Square Beautification Project. A reminder to everyone listening today here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint that there are a few ways to listen to the podcast, a bi-weekly show highlighting members of the Siena community. You can also listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and subscribe to the Siena Alumni YouTube channel to check out the complete selection of shows. Liz and Luke, we have an exciting show today, an exciting weekend lined up as well for commencement. But before we even get to this big weekend that is here, I first want to welcome both of you to the show. First, Liz, how you doing today? How's it feel, the second semester senior?
I'm great today. I'm really looking forward to being on this podcast. It's been great. I'm really just trying to soak up the last few weeks here at Siena. It's coming to a close super quickly, but it's been a great 4 years to celebrate. And
for you, Luke, we've all discovered that there is a massive studio behind the welcome desk. How are you doing today? How's it feel to be here in the studio with us?
Yeah, Brandon, thank you. I'm doing great. Yeah, I didn't know this was back here, but it's really cool. Definitely off the Siena bingo sheet right there.
Yeah. And like I said, we have an incredible show and weekend lined up. It is commencement weekend, and there's a lot to celebrate with you two specifically and with your graduating class. But before we even get to what these feelings are like this semester, we got to get to those feelings of entering college and looking at colleges. And I first want to start with you, Liz. We do this on every show. We take the clocks back a couple years, and we give our audience a chance to understand why Siena was the fit for you. Can you take us first through that process and why you wanted to be a Siena Saint?
Sure, absolutely. I've definitely been reflecting a lot on kind of my journey here and, of course, where it started. Siena was the first college that I toured in August going into my senior year of high school. And I really liked it, but I had nothing to compare it to. So I went off and visited a few other schools, and I didn't think I wanted a super small school. And then I came to an accepted students day at Siena in February of my senior year, right before the pandemic shut the world down. And there was just that undeniable sense of community here that we've really enjoyed over the past 4 years. And I went home and I told my parents I knew that this was going to be the place for me.
And for you, Luke, I don't want to say it was right in your backyard, but you have this local lens with Siena. Can you talk a little bit about maybe how you first heard about Siena, but why you decided to be a Siena Saint ultimately?
Oh, yeah. So my father, for the longest time, big Siena men's basketball fan. Never went to Siena, but he always loved the local basketball team. He'd always talk about it, listen to it on the radio. And I first toured here in 2016, my freshman year of high school. So it's really unique, but it was a class trip. I heard of Siena through my dad talking about it. So I was like, oh, I'll just go visit Siena and see what it's like. I fell in love with campus from there, and it was the only school I ever really wanted to go to. When I was applying for colleges in junior and senior year of high school, Siena was really the only place that gave me a chance, but it was perfect because that's really where my eyes were set. So ever since then, Siena's been home.
And Liz, you mentioned to me before the show today that you've never been on a podcast, but your first answer hinted at the pandemic, and that leads us into our next question and what we're going to talk about now with that transition into college. You talk about that community-focused atmosphere, and when it comes to the pandemic, the communication that was so crucial for an incoming Siena student to understand. Can you give our listeners a little bit of insight on how it was so unique to your class specifically coming into Siena, and how Siena helped ease that transition as best as they could?
Definitely. I think that our class is a very unique class across all universities and colleges entering college during the pandemic. I think Siena did an outstanding job of making sure there was still a sense of community for all students, freshmen to seniors, and making sure the Siena experience was still intact during that time. Of course, when things opened back up during our sophomore year, there were more opportunities to be involved, but during our freshman year, we were still able to go to the student events boards, Thursday evening events, and there were still opportunities to meet people through clubs everyone was very innovative and made sure that there were still ways for freshmen to meet people and to feel at home at Siena. And I really value that and reflect on it super positively.
And one of the major Siena experiences is also that orientation experience, Luke. And it is so crucial those first 3 to 5 days for that student body in that freshman class to mesh well together. But it was a little bit different for you guys. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the layout of that weekend, but how you guys were still able to introduce yourselves to one another and start building that bond and that legacy that we'll get to in the second segment?
I mean, being honest, I didn't even know our orientation was that different until I saw next year's orientation, because we were just so into the COVID restrictions and everything going on. But for us, it was more like we always had to be outside. We always just had to be 6 feet apart, masks on, which was really difficult at first. But I think everyone, at least around me, was like, screw it. We're gonna abide by the restrictions, obviously, but we're gonna continue and make sure that we're having the best 4 years of our life, and this is when it starts. So we played a lot of beach ball games out in the quad, and we didn't really sit inside that much, but I think that was to our benefit because we had really nice weather. I remember every day being sunny and gorgeous out, which I think we just got really lucky with. But that was probably the best time freshman year, was just getting to know everyone, just seeing the excitement. We all would hang out outside after until like 1, 2 a.m., wake up right early and just like have the energy to go back and do it all again. I miss it a little, but I think it was just a really great experience because we were all around each other. I think we were all ready just to have those social interactions again. And I think it really set us up for a great 4 years here.
And almost every single episode on the show, we talk about kind of two main experiences. We talk about the inside the classroom experiences, and we talk about the outside of the classroom experiences. And for you guys, you literally had outside classrooms. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those dynamics and the community involvement. But I first want to talk about those true, literally inside the classroom experiences and the education that Siena provides for the students. First, for you, Liz, can you talk a little bit about what you studied at Siena, maybe one or two experiences or classes that you enjoyed the most, and how that helped prepare you for that next phase in your life?
Absolutely. I've been very fortunate with my academic career here at Siena. I've gotten to do a lot. I was a triple major in English, history, and education. I was also part of the Standish Honors Program, so I've gotten to meet so many different professors and academic communities. I would say a standout experience that really encapsulates what Siena has to offer for students. I was able to take a cross-listed English and history course during my sophomore year called Irish Identity. And we went to Ireland at the end of the semester. We traveled around for 10 days and visited all of the places that we had learned about. We saw homes of poets and different historical sites. And it was just really significant and defining for my Siena experience. In addition, I'd love to highlight my student teaching experience through the education department, which was truly an outstanding way to end off my Siena experience. And I will always reflect positively on that. So Siena's offered me a lot in terms of my education.
And we have just about 5 minutes left in the first segment today, and we're going to pivot with Luke and his conversation, and then some positive community members at Siena. You guys are going to hear, triple major, 2 majors, 3 minors, and then think about in the next segment all of the campus involvement and everything that you guys balanced with. Luke, for you, though, how did you kind of shape your academic experience, and how did that experience help for what is to come?
So my academic experience was really unique here. I came into college not really knowing what I was going to do, and that was really evident to me when I changed my major 5 times in 2 years. Not kidding, but I think what really stood out to me was how much support I had behind me when I was switching my major, because I switched between education, political science, history, everything. And no matter what, even my former advisors would reach out and ask, like, hey, how are you doing? How are your new classes? And that really stood out to me because it really made my academic experience more about exploring what I want to do for the rest of my life and not just trying to get a degree. And I think the classes here have been wonderful. One of my favorite classes I took here was a 3-hour lecture course with Dr. Reardon, one of the education professors. Fun fact, he's also the superintendent of my old high school. But he was awesome because it was me and 8 other students, and we just talked the whole time. And it was just, I think I learned the most just about education in general, just from hearing his experiences as an educator, but also hearing where other people are at, why they're in education, and just learning different things was really awesome because I love learning about new people, learning different things. And that class was it was awesome.
And you talk about the great classes and the great curriculum here at Siena. We also have incredible community members, and you've both been lucky enough to build great relationships with various community members. And we have just about 3.5 minutes left in the first segment today. And the final question to both of you would be to highlight one or two of those positive community members that you guys became close with. Liz, I'll start with you.
Sure. I'd love to highlight two. I'll give a quick shout out to both of them. Dr. Liptak was my first year SEM professor. She's one of the directors of the program. She was just really an outstanding mentor during such a challenging year with the pandemic freshman year. She really helped guide my academic journey here at Siena, and she sat on my honors thesis committee during my junior year. So I'm very happy that I had to have her on kind of two ends of my Siena experience. The second community member I'd love to highlight is Kate Coffin-Byrnes, the director of the Office of Health Promotion. She's been an outstanding mentor in terms of my leadership on campus. We've done a great deal of wellness work together through my club Active Minds, and I'm going to miss her greatly next year.
And Kate had just presented to the Council of Administrators and Staff last month about the great work that your center is doing and what is to come at Siena. So I know that's just the foundation within the work that they're doing. And Luke, in the last 90 seconds or so that we have left in the first segment, who are some community members that positively impacted your time here?
Yeah, of course. I already mentioned Dr. Reardon, how great he was as a professor, but also just a mentor. But someone that really impacted my Siena experience throughout its whole time was my residence director, Sandra Masseri. She is someone that I often call my biggest mentor and teacher, just because how much she showed me what my educational path could be, how I can pivot. She showed me what it's like to be a professional, but also be a mentor to so many different people and just bring your passions into the line of work that you do and just showing like your affection, your love for people. And she is someone that I'm going to be keeping in touch with and reaching out to when I have an issue, because she is that person for me where I always call her my rock. She's someone that I can always rely on, and I'm always appreciative of her.
And when we come back in the second segment of today's show, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into those outside of the classroom experiences that both Liz and Luke have hinted at in the first segment today. We'll talk about the senior gift campaign, commencement weekend, and what's next for Liz and Luke. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on the Saints and Alumni Show. Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show right here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017 from the Office of Alumni Engagement. And this week I'm joined by Liz Byrnes and Luke Keith, seniors at Siena College and student leaders, not just on the senior gift campaign, but across the community. We just wrapped up talking about some inside of the classroom experiences, attending Siena, some of the academic classes that you took. And we really want to take the second segment now to talk about those outside of the classroom experiences, because it's just as important as those inside the classroom experiences and the senior gift campaign and, of course, commencement weekend. But before we kind of get into that later half of the segment, I want to begin with you, Liz, and talk about some of your campus involvement and first of all, specifically Student Senate. Maybe for those who are listening who don't know what Student Senate is, can you briefly let us know what it is and why you wanted to get involved and your role with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I could speak for Luke and I that Student Senate has been a really big part of our Siena experiences. Last year, for the 2023 academic year, we served as the Student Senate Vice President, myself, and Luke was the President. I really got involved with it because Luke encouraged me to. The Student Senate really serves as a voice for the student body to administration. We work on policy changes, campaigns throughout campus, really anything that the student body is looking for. We can advocate for those issues. Some of my favorite memories from Senate were, of course, building community within our board itself. But we also did a lot of kind of internal structural revamps during our time serving on the board. So we made a whole new organizational system for clubs in terms of financial categories. So this will help future Senates to assign monetary roles to different clubs. That way they have accurate budgets for the upcoming year. We just tried to make things as simple as possible for future Senates and kind of set them up for success.
I was never elected into office like you two were. My brother Andy was vice president and president, so then I was his executive assistant and chief of staff. And one of my favorite things was the executive office for the Student Senate. Luke, you may mention how that was a perk of Student Senate, but for you, kind of why did you want to be in that Senate position as well, your role as president, and some highlights with your time in your administration.
Well, the office, duh. No, but I think the best part about being on Senate is just hearing people's voices being heard. And I know that's a little redundant, but hearing what people say after you listen to them and after you make progress for them, even if you can't fix whatever they're looking for or give them an answer that they're looking for, the appreciation that they have always goes above and beyond that. I think two of the things that I've been really proud of was getting more seating on campus. That was something that's kind of clouded my whole Siena career, was that because we came in during a time where community was harder to make, being outside was kind of where we needed to be and how we made that community. So having more seating outside so classes beyond us can sit down, do homework outside, hang out with friends, and just be there for each other was really important. And also, we did an all-gender bathroom campaign, switching all the gender neutral bathrooms on campus to say all gender because students requested that, and we wanted to make sure that students' voices were being heard and that everyone felt comfortable calling Siena home.
And again, I feel like you guys have been on this podcast many times. Some great answers with a lot of hints into what's to come with the senior gift and the voices being heard and that legacy. And some great answers already. And our listeners are probably thinking, vice president, president, a major, a couple minors, 3 majors, student teaching, tons and tons of time-consuming responsibilities. But you guys said, let's keep adding on to that responsibility list and continue to be involved at Siena. For you, Liz, can you talk a little bit about the program that you involved in with Saints? We all know Saints, but what is that acronym and what is that role within orientation?
So Saints is our orientation leaders here at Siena. They are mentors to our incoming freshmen. I joined Saints my junior year, and I was a Saint to some wonderful freshman girls in Plasman Hall that year who I still love seeing around campus. And then this past fall, my senior year, I had the opportunity to serve as a STEM, which is a Saints training education mentor. So there's 10 of us, and we have the opportunity to lead other orientation leaders in their training. That way they can best support the freshmen that they're assigned to. This was a really fruitful experience, and the sense of community within Saints is what's the most special to me. I know that is so cliche and that we've said it so many times, but it's just so true about Siena. What I think fosters that sense of community within Saints is that you spend approximately 14 days with these people from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or longer. You really get to know everyone, and in order to be servant leaders, you have to be vulnerable and open up to these people. So there's such a sense of community within Saints that fosters community for the freshmen with their Saint. And I think many people remember their Saints and reflect fondly on those memories. So I'm happy that I've gotten to be a part of that.
I actually had a really great Saint myself as well. Obviously, everybody is great within the program. My Saint was Clint, and he was a year above me. And I actually lived with him my junior year when he was a senior in a townhouse. And I still go and visit him in New York City. So it really is those lifelong connections that you make with that incoming class and that relationship. And for you, Luke, you talked a little bit about the positive relationships that you had within the community living center in the first segment. But I kind of want to unpack a little bit now about what are those roles and responsibilities that you had as a CA within Siena, and how did that positively impact not just your experience, but those that you worked with?
Yeah, awesome. So I was a community assistant the past 3 years. Best experience of my life here. OCL, that's what we call the Office of Community Living. OCL was home for me. We always call it the OCL family because you're just getting close to 60 students that are peers that are going through the similar situations that you are, and you just all joke around and have fun with it. And then you also have really great people that are coming in to help you, administrators. We have great RDs here. Sandra, who I mentioned, she's the assistant director currently, and she's great, as I said earlier. And our director, James, as well. He's always great. He's always trying to do what's best for our student population here, but also the students that work within the office. I was able to be a mentor community assistant the past 2 years, and that has been the best experience of my life, and it's kind of shaped what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I'm always thankful to OCL because it's given me everything that I have now.
And we have just about 6 minutes left in today's show. It's been flying by, and we want to now kind of transition into the legacy that you've both hinted at today with the senior gift campaign, and then commencement weekend with what's to come after commencement weekend. And as I said, you've both talked about legacy and allowing your representation to be hearing the voices of the students. So Liz, I kind of want to first begin with you when we talk about the senior gift campaign, why you took that leading role in making sure that, you know, the seniors had their voice heard, and why that was so important to you to help represent the senior class.
Absolutely. So the senior gift in my eyes is really the legacy that your class leaves at Siena. Eventually, the classes that you attended Siena with will graduate. So the current freshmen, one day they'll be gone, and there won't have been students on campus who interacted with members of the class of 2024. So the senior gift is what we leave forever on campus, even once kind of, you know, we're not here and the students that we attended with are no longer here. I think it's super important to both of us that the voices of our class were heard for this campaign, because it is each individual member's legacy. It's not just the name of the class of 2024, but it's also representative of what each member of the class contributed. So we were very thankful for the opportunity to use our Senate platform to make sure that those voices were heard.
And then for you, Luke, you talked a lot about outdoor spaces, legacy on campus. Can you first talk a little bit about working as a senior gift committee leader and allowing the class to vote on a project, what they voted on, and what that legacy means to your class?
Yeah, of course. So my goal in every leadership role that I've taken is that lead with honesty, but also be honest to everyone that there is. When I took on being a member of the senior gift committee, I wanted to be honest with everyone. And when I was hearing that students wanted to have that voice and choose what they wanted the senior gift to be, I thought it was just best for everyone to know, like, hey, this is what students are hearing. This is what students are saying. We want to help change this, and we want to make sure it's not just the best for our class, but the best for Siena as a community. And I think it was the best because seniors got a voice. They got to vote. We ended up voting for the McCluskey Commons Rebeautification Project, which is something that really was special to me because that is something I've mentioned it the whole time. Community here at Siena is the most impactful thing for me. And I think rebuilding and rebeautifying these community centers and spaces where people gather is the most important thing, especially for our class.
And that was so noticeable at the kickoff in January when the gift was announced to the senior class, and the excitement and the smiles that came with that. And then throughout the whole spring semester, as the class has successfully reached the fundraising goal of 15,000 plus, we've actually have almost gotten to 20K now, which is 5K over goal, which is really amazing. And a lot of opportunities that come with that to leave that legacy behind. And when we look at not leaving Siena behind, but that next chapter in your life, and you reflect on your time here at Siena, Liz, in the 3 or so minutes that we have left today, I've got one last question for you, and that's just, what are you going to remember most about being a Siena Saint, and what's the next chapter for you?
There are so many things that I will remember about my time at Siena. I think I will take with me those Franciscan values that we carry every day. I know that we talk about them often, but they're just so important, and I really do believe that everyone I've met here leads with those qualities, whether they realize it or not. And I hope to treat everyone I interact with in my future in that way. I think it's a fantastic thing that Siena instills those values in their students. For me, next steps, I will be attending St. John's University School of Law in the fall. So I'm very excited to embark on that journey and to bring all of my memories from Siena with me.
And for you, Luke, what are you going to reflect back on most when you're texting your group chat buddies and laughing about good times, and what's next for you?
I think it was really surreal for me. I ended up doing Mr. Siena this past month, and that was a really surreal experience because I reflected on everything that I've done and what that word Siena means to me. And I mean, I could tear up just thinking about it right now because there's not just one memory that comes to mind when I think of Siena. I think of my friends. I think of how I've grown. I think of the community that we have here and just how it made me who I am today. And I'm just so excited to see where Siena can go after we leave, but I'm also excited to come and visit and also just hear about everything going on. For next steps for me, I will be attending the University of Connecticut for higher education and student affairs. So I will be in stores and with some national championship trophies, which is going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that. It's going to be very different from Siena, but I'm also excited just because I want to bring what I learned here at Siena to different places, because just because it's a Siena thing doesn't mean it can't be a world thing. And the values here are things that are really important just to be a great person. And I want to bring that wherever I go. And that next stop's going to be UConn.
Well, I think that's both greatly said on both of you to conclude today's show. And I think with that, officially commencement weekend is here. We're excited to toast to your class tonight at the Champagne Toast. If you're coming into town for commencement weekend, you can visit siena.edu/commencement for all of the information. Congratulations to both of you, to your class. Thank you for everything that you've done for the Siena community. And we'll see you next time right here on the Saints and Alumni Show.